Hi, I'm Justin Boyd.
And I'm riding high, hopping in.
I'm Tristan Jones.
And we are the Watchers in the Basement. Welcome to the Watchers in the Basement. Welcome to Watchers Football Weekly, a podcast within a podcast, and a podcast that's all about the pigskin. We are here today to discuss week 7 of the NFL season. We're going to kick it off with a Super Bowl rematch. The Chiefs traveled to San Francisco or Santa Clara, wherever, to face the 49ers. And both Tristan and Frank were in the house. They went to the game. So before we get your thoughts on the game itself, Frank, I want you to help set the scene. What was the stadium like? Santa Clara, Levi's Stadium. Paint us a picture. How was it before the game got going, and just the atmosphere?
You know what? I gave the San Fran fans a little bit too much credit. I thought it would be a lot more rowdy and a lot more hostile towards Chiefs fans. The vibe absolutely felt like an inferiority complex. Like you felt the tension from the fans of like, fuck, here we go again. And like when the game started, it was by the time the end of the first quarter or second quarter, it's 14-3, you kind of got this whole like level of like frustration from the crowd. I went to an Oakland game a few years ago, and like it was one of the few times in my life I was actually scared of like what was going to happen. I wore all black. I didn't want anybody getting in my face. It's the opposite, man. Fans were delightful, but there's a little brother complex, man, going on in San Fran with the Chiefs and Niners fans, and it was hot. It was 75, but it was beaming hot. But overall, man, it was a great time. I mean, we enjoyed it. We won. Throughout the whole game, man, there wasn't a sense of like, oh shit, we might lose this game. Like the Chiefs created like this controllable like driving force pace throughout the whole game, and like it felt like no matter what the Niners did, there was a hanging sense of doubt from the sidelines to the stands. It felt like a home game for us. It didn't feel like a road game at all. I'll let Tristan speak on it as well.
Yeah, I totally concur. We talked about it during the game. It was like, man, we had excellent conversations, with strangers, like it didn't feel hostile at all. I did like that. It's the tension is a really good word, because, you could have like Oakland Raider tension, you could have like dog pound tension. Like that tension was like, please don't do it to us again. You know what I'm saying? Like it was very like docile, when the Chiefs were driving, like the fans weren't like getting louder. They were just they were quiet. They were like us, just kind of watching like, when are we going to pull out? Like, how they going to pull out this third down? And every time they would convert a third down, especially in that fourth quarter, like you would just feel the crowds, like their wheel just dropped. But we did, walking in, because I said it, like every opposing crowd I've ever been to, people look at me and say, hey, let's talk shit to that guy. You know what I'm saying? And I don't naturally have the capacity to not return it, so, it always leads to some back and forth, which is always friendly. But like I always feel like one of those times it won't be. I didn't, as soon as we walked in, like, people either look at you and like, oh, damn, you beat, we're going to get you guys eventually. Or, you see the occasional Chiefs fan and they'll just nod. And it wasn't like hey, we're in hostile territory. It's more like, hey, man, this is a nice place. Nice place to watch some pigskin. You know what I'm saying? So, no, we had a great time. Like the atmosphere, the stadium itself is beautiful.
Yeah.
Especially when you walk out. We walked out after the game and looked at where the practice facility is, and it's just sitting there behind, in front of mountains upon mountains, and it's beautiful. Especially for myself who just loves a good view of nature. So, excellent experience. Like one of those, stadiums and NFL experiences you have to go to.
So I'm for the audio listeners right now. I'm showing a picture for Frank's Facebook page. And y'all at the game. So you'll have pretty good seats right there, like kind of the corner of the end zone, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, about 15 rows up. I mean, we went down a little bit lower to get photos of the field, and some of the scenery behind us. But no, we had really good seats. We was on the catty corner side of the visitor side.
Yeah.
So I mean, there was some Chiefs fans there on our side, but the Niners fans over there, they were conversational, friendly.
Yeah.
It was like a sense of like, oh fuck, here we go again. That Mahomes run was on our side of the end zone. That 33-yard run that he had,
Yeah,
was coming toward our goal side, and like you sense like the inhale of like, fuck, here we go again, like with the fans. But there was no like, I was expecting like drunken lewdness and rudeness from the fans. I mean, it wasn't really any. It was kind of like Tristan said, very docile.
yeah.
I look way buffer in that picture than I am. I'm not that buff, man. I look like somebody's security in that picture, and I am not. It was the complete opposite in real life. No, the seats were excellent, man.
Yeah.
The only rowdy person was like this woman, had to be like late 30s, mid 40s, who was like in the second half, and especially in the fourth quarter, she was berating, Brock Purdy all quarter. It was the funniest thing ever. Like she was the drunken person, but like it was so.
Yeah.
Even it was just funny. We just laughed at her. You know what I'm saying? So excellent experience all around.
Yeah. And Frank, you mentioned the Mahomes run. And so Mahomes, I mean, once again, didn't really have a great game. You look at his stats for the season. He's got 6 touchdowns, 8 picks, which is, not great. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised in the year he has 24 touchdowns and, 14 picks or something. But right now, he's on the wrong side of it. But y'all did get to see that run, which was a special play just watching on TV. You got the double pump fake, acts like he's running out out of bounds, goes up the sidelines. Frank, walk me through that play for a second here.
Yeah, I think it was like a 2nd and 10 play, if I remember correctly. We're driving, controlling the clock. Throughout the second half, we just couldn't sustain like passing plays, like guys making plays, those drop passes again, miscommunication on routes. And it was just one of those times where like Mahomes was like, fuck it, get on my back, let me make a play. And he had made a similar play on a 3rd down play to Worthy, where he kind of flicked his wrist with the pass.
Yeah.
For Worthy for a 1st down. So I think the defense saw that double pump again and thought that he was about to make another 4 pass sidewinder again, and he pump faked, and the defense fell for it, and he made a beautiful move on the sideline to juke back inside of a block and go up the sidelines for another 28 yards for a 33-yard play. It was beautiful. It was a great play, but that play I think personifies what Mahomes and the offense is this year. It may not look pretty, it may not look like aesthetically pleasing, but they're going to get the job done. That's kind of what the thesis of the 2024 season is. Like, until the artillery gets here, until we get pieces to add to this offense, we're just going to run the ball down your fucking throats. We're going to control the clock, incorporate short passing game, and execute when it matters. And that's what they did. After that 3rd Purdy pick in the end zone, it was 9 minutes left on the clock. And I think that drive just personifies who the Chiefs are. It was 9 minutes left on the clock. The Chiefs, the Niners know they're going to run the ball. Like they're not going to put the ball in the air at all. And they use the interior line of Trey Smith, Tooney, and Creed Humphrey, and just ran the ball literally down the Niners' throats, and they couldn't do anything about it. Then they picked up 3 first downs, and they ended that scoring drive with a 20-yard end around play to McCall Hardman. That's a good defense, and we pretty much demoralized that defense, run ball down their throats. This is what the Chiefs are. They're going to be a ball control offense until they can get some weapons to help Mahomes. But it was a beautiful drive. I think the Chiefs had, I want to say, 3 scoring drives of 80+ yards that ended in touchdowns. I mean, it's not gonna be pretty, but you dominate the clock, you demoralize the defense, and you keep your defense off the field. So that's the recipe. That's the recipe for success.
Yeah, I do want to point out the Chiefs are the only undefeated team in the NFL now. So, I mean, it's working. It's not aesthetically pleasing, maybe, but they're getting the job done. Tristan, what did you take away from the game watching the Chiefs in person? Just your overall thoughts on how they played.
I mean, Sam was cool. We have these conversations hourly at this point. But I want to clear up one quick myth, only because it's become a thing on the internet.
Yeah.
And in my my role in education. I have more time to spend on the internet at work. But at no point did Mahomes actually go towards the sideline. Like at the beginning of it, he's getting away from Fred Warner. He immediately kind of turns upfield.
Yeah.
And of course, he's running by the sideline, and it wasn't even like he was running out.
Right.
William Hunt got a good block on, I think I want to say Bowman. And that's what allowed Mahomes easy to kind of just peel back and keep going. So only because this has become a thing, like people, acting like Mahomes is breaking some unspoken football.
No, I wasn't going to take it that way. I mean, it's a great play. It's
amazing play. Amazing.
It's a legal play. I wasn't going to bring up the whole like, oh, maybe he's giving himself up. He wasn't giving himself up, but it seemed like he was, prepared to get out of the way if he needed to.
Yeah. No, I wasn't even correcting you. I'm kind of correcting like the prevailing idiocy of it,
Yeah.
So,
right.
Anyway, like I said, with the seats that we had, one of the first things I noticed was we missed the first drive, in traffic and just kind of making this 5K run through the parking lot. So we missed the first drive of both teams. Matter of fact, as we were walking up, Purdy threw their first pick to Eric Reed, right when we got in the stadium. But when we sat down, we kind of noticed, okay, Juju wasn't playing, and Andy Reid said he was going to play. He had been listed as questionable, but Andy Reid at least said he was optimistic that he was going to play. So I don't even know if he got in the first drive. But once we kind of realized, okay, Juju's not going to be in this game, you kind of understood what the offense was going to look like. What I really got to see, because I'm not looking at the all 22 every week, you know what I'm saying? At all. I don't even know how you access such a thing. But I was looking at like when they split Xavier Worthy out to the outside, how does the defense react to that? In what ways do these defenders? Because when I look at other teams with great quarterbacks, they seem to, catch dudes running wide open down the field. It's seemingly once every 6 plays. Yeah. I'm like, why can't our guys get that open? So I just really wanted to kind of lock in and see how, they were being defended. And sure enough, every time Xavier Worthy's on the outside, they're rolling the safety to his side, either pre-snap or right after the snap. And then it's just on the rest of those guys to like be able to separate and either find a seam in the zone or separate a man. And none of them can really do that consistently. Not even Xavier Worthy. Like, it's too many times you watch him and he gets bumped off and he's off the route. You know what I'm saying? And that messes up timing. So I say all that to say is I'm much more sympathetic to Mahomes' struggles, and what the numbers are looking like, because he's having to fit too many balls in tight windows. You know what I'm saying? And that's a 50-50 play a lot of those times. So, yeah. And then it's, some of those picks have been flukes. A few of them have been just plain bad decisions. You know what I'm saying? So it's been like this tapestry of like interceptions. But because of that, this is what, what Frank said, ruthless efficiency in the run game, staying out of second and long, third and long. So you get like 5-6 yard passes, 8 yards here and there with your tight ends. And you're just doing that ruthlessly. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And that's what the offense has to be until they get some premier play from their wide receiver core.
Yeah. And I think, Frank, you said it well, as far as like, it never felt like the 49ers were going to win the game. You could kind of argue that for the whole season. I don't think there's been a Chiefs game, maybe the Ravens' final drive in the opener, where it felt like the other team had a chance. It feels like the Chiefs have had their hand on the throat of the other team pretty much all season long. So despite not putting up huge numbers, they're putting up the only numbers that matter, and that's in the win column. Want to get y'all's thoughts on the 49ers a little bit. Brock Purdy, 3 picks. The 49ers, whole team is banged up, but their receiving core really banged up. Debo didn't play, or maybe he played briefly, but he was sick, didn't play much. Jennings didn't play. He was out with a hip injury. And we had Ayuk, of course, who suffered a torn ACL, MCL injury. What did you see from the 49ers, seeing him in person, Frank?
It's tough, man, because like this ongoing Purdy debate about what he is, and Tristan and I talked about this yesterday on a plane ride back. he is a guy as of right now. He's a system quarterback. He's a guy that he's a complementary guy. He needs complementary pieces to raise his level of play. He's not at that point where he can just say, "Hey, get on my back. I'll take you to the promised land, no matter who is in the receiver room, no matter who's in the running back room." And same with Shanahan. Like, I posed this question to Tristan yesterday, and I asked him, like, is Shanahan a great coach? And it wasn't a slight to Shanahan, but it was legitimately a question, because to me, great coaching and great motivating and X and O's, you're able to adjust your scheme to the player, and not vice versa. And I feel like with Shanahan, when he has a scheme, he has players that fit a scheme, and the scheme works, he's gangbusters, 12, 15 wins a year. But once he starts losing players that fits his scheme, and he has to work on the fly, he struggles. And it permeates throughout the rest of his coaching ability. It goes to the lack of time management. It goes through, the pass run ratio, passing too much, not running enough, vice versa. And a lot of that goes to, like, he's so scheme based. And if the players are not there to orchestrate that scheme, he doesn't know where else to go with it. And I think starting with McCaffrey being out for as long as he has, the offense kind of struggles finding identity. They should be a run-based offense, should be. And I feel like at times they're still trying to find the way of, like, find the balance of, like, how much we should put on Purdy's plate compared to how much we should run the ball, and just run the ball and become a ground offense till the artillery comes back with the missing weapons they have. But Purdy's a good quarterback. But two things can be true. He can be a good quarterback, and also he could be a guy that's just not ready to take the helm of, like, taking on the responsibility of, like, running the offense and everything be on his shoulders. And that game yesterday that game Sunday kind of showed the two examples of two quarterbacks, one who raises the level of play around him and Mahomes, to one that kind of craters to the pressure of not having his safe haven, his running back, his receivers, the guys who are healthy around him, and Purdy. And I think it's just going to take time, man. It's early. I mean, this is year 3 of Purdy's career. He's still developing as a quarterback. He could be that guy, a guy who can aspire and raise the level of play around him. But as of right now, that's just not his game. And I think Shanahan needs to adjust to that. But with Purdy, with the way I see with Purdy in the offense right now, they gotta figure out. Shanahan has to figure out what he wants his team to be offensively. And I think he's still trying to figure that out. And I think he's been reeling since the McCaffrey injury. Since the McCaffrey injury, he's blown 2 10-point leads at home. Should have blown a third in Seattle. Damn near got licked with that game. He doesn't know what he wants to do. And watching that game on Sunday, I asked Tristan, I'm like, man, we've watched the 49ers in 2 different versions. One version when they have McCaffrey and they're rolling. Another version when they don't have McCaffrey. And this version on Sunday was, you're down 10 in the first quarter. How do you approach this game now? What is your game plan? Yeah. And Shanahan didn't have a game plan. He was kind of like trying to, like, figure things out as it went along, as opposed to Andy Reid. You lose Hollywood Brown before the season. You lose Rasheed Rice in game 2. Kelsey's still trying to get his bearings under him. You lose Pacheco, and the offense metamorphoses into a whole different offense compared to what we saw in training camp. And I think that's the difference between the two coaches that we see in Andy and Shanahan.
To me, Brock Purdy's best comp has always been, I think this is his ceiling as well, is Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins came in to Washington and were eventually developed in Washington as a high-end system player, right? Like, you have system players, your mid-tier quarterbacks, because they have mid-tier quarterback talent. And Brock Purdy's at the high end of that, right? But, like, there's a ceiling to, like, that. He can break through on, like, certain games. When things are breaking right, when he has pieces around him, he will play to the level of his teammates, of his talent level around him. And that's really the biggest difference between him and what those we describe as like the elite quarterbacks, like, and that's why he just hasn't been that, because his superpower, to be an elite quarterback, you need a superpower. To be an elite quarterback in the NFL today, you need at least two superpowers, right? Brock Purdy has one, and that's his decision making. Like, he makes really great decisions. He doesn't always have like the strongest arm to like make every throw, but he knows, okay, I'm going to make decisions based on what I can do with my arm, and he rarely makes those game sealing or just crucial mistakes in the game. On Sunday, he made them, over and over and over. And it wasn't really just the interceptions. Like, he missed a lot of throws, especially in that first half. Like, just wide open, bad reads, overthrows, too shorts, whatever. So that's really the ceiling of the 49ers with Purdy as quarterback. If they have everything around him, they know that Brock Purdy can play up to the level of his teammates. Maybe he can be outplayed, by better talent. But he'll definitely play to the level or close to the level of his all-star teammates. If he's not, they are simply a good team at best.
Yeah, the good news for them, that division is wide open. I mean, no team is too far ahead, or no team is out of it. You got the Cardinals are also 3-4 with the Niners. You got the Rams are 2-4. Seahawks lead the division at 4-3. So that's going to be probably a 9-8, 10-7 kind of, is going to win that division. So we'll see if the 49ers can get some people back and get back on track. I mentioned before, the Chiefs are the only undefeated team left in the league. That's because the Vikings suffered their first loss on Sunday. Not only did they lose the game, they also lost first place in the ultra competitive NFC North with the Lions coming in there, winning 31-29. Frank, I'm not sure how much of that game you got to see, but I watched a lot of it, and it felt like a playoff game. Maybe the first like true playoff game, like during the regular season that I've seen this year. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, we watched some of that game most all the first half in the hotel before going to the stadium. The Vikings belong. I mean, that game, what showed me in that game is that Sam Darnold can sustain this. That defense, Brian Flores led defense, is going to be there all year. They're very opportunistic. They turn the ball over. They can rush forward with that blitzing with the fifth or sixth defender, and they can run the ball. Aaron Jones, who I thought was going to miss his game, he was questionable all week. He had a great game. I mean, I think long Aaron Jones is there, and they can play action with Justin Jefferson and Addison. I need to say this. Mr. Addison, man, is ascending to a level of stardom that I didn't think he would hit so quickly. He's really creating opportunities for the Vikings passing game to where guys can't really roll coverage to Justin Jefferson anymore. He's a raw technician, and Darnold has the arm strength to get the ball downfield to both those guys. I still think they're working Hockenson back into the flow of things, but I mean, that was a tough loss for sure for the Vikings. I feel like they let one slip away, but I think, and I was interested in this other day at the airport. I'm like, I think this is very sustainable for Darnold. I think O'Connell is doing a great job of like keeping the game plan simplistic to where Darnold's not getting his own way with his ability to, what we saw in the past with him having turnover issues. But with the running game with Aaron Jones and that passing game, man, they're going to be in it for the long haul. That series between them and the Lions could be a split. I can see that. I can see it being a split once they play again. But I still have questions about the Lions defense. They do whatever they want offensively. They have a counter for everything offensively. Defensively, I still think they give away too many plays on the back end. I think that's going to be a problem for them if they don't address that in the trade or if they have a big lead going to the fourth quarter. That's going to be a problem for them. So I think they're the best team in the NFC in the Lions, but they're far from perfect. I think that defense could be problematic for them. But gritty win for the Lions. I know they had a late turnover in that game. They was able to march down the field and get a game-winning field goal. I can't wait for them to play again. To be honest, I think they can play 10 times, and I think all 10 games can go either way.
Yeah.
I mean, Jared Goff is playing at an unbelievable level.
Yeah.
Hey man, when they can protect him, it's like pitch and catch back there. He's eating these defenses alive. Outside of the Tampa Bay game, he's been lights out. He's number one on my MVP poll right now, especially after Baker. Well, I won't say he's number one, like definitively. He's playing like a number one MVP, candidate because there's another guy who's looking unreal. But yeah, like Frank said, man, I got a counter for everything. Whatever you want, blitz. We can run through your blitz. Don't blitz. Yeah. Don't get to the quarterback and eat you alive. Receiving core, tight ends. They say the biggest thing, especially after Hutchinson went down. Can that pass rush be consistent and, can that pass rush be good enough to make up for the secondary? But, man, they look like a Super Bowl team, man.
Yeah. There was a stat that I saw. The last 4 games, Lions have 18 touchdowns, and Goff has 16 incompletions. It's like he has more touchdowns than incompletions. It's fucking crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. No, he's playing very well. Sticking in the North, the Packers hosted our Houston Texans. And not surprisingly, I figured the Texans would lose, but it was a close game, back and forth game. Packers won 24-22. Last second field goal got the win. Frank, when the Texans signed Joe Mixon, I had no idea that this guy was going to be such a huge part of their offense. He had 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards on the ground again, but there wasn't much in the passing game. CJ Stroud only had 86 yards through the air. The Texans have kind of played kind of like the Chiefs offensively. Honestly, they just can't kind of put it together. What'd you think about this game?
It was kind of the perfect storm, man, for the Packers. Like, again, I think the Texans are trying to figure out life without their number one receiver.
Nico,
without Nico. And then the Packers secondary is one of the best secondaries in football. Like, Jair Alexander is one of the best corners year in and year out. That secondary is a problematic for any defense. And again, I saw a stat today too. Stephon Diggs has played Jair Alexander 6 times. He has like 3 catches for 28 yards against him. Like it's a problem for Stephon Diggs against Jair Alexander. And I think the Texans are trying to figure out how to configure balls on that side of the ball. I still think they got to do a better job of getting Tank Dell involved. Tank Dell had a big drop in the end zone that he should have caught, but I think they need to work Tank Dell a little bit more. Whether it's getting him off motion in the slide, moving him off the line of scrimmage, creating opportunities in space, and continue to be Mixon reliant until they get Nico back.
Yeah.
But the O-line, man, it's still becoming a problem. Larry Tunsil played a little bit better in this game, but the O-line's a unit. It's not playing well. And you see that it's starting to get the Stroud visibly, like he's frustrated, especially on like third downs when they know a blitz is coming or they know they're bringing more than 4, and it's becoming a problem. So it was going to be a tough game regardless going to Lambeau, but the Texans got issues that they got to figure out as far as hierarchy of like getting balls to their key guys. Dalton Schultz, I feel like needs to get more touches as well. I feel like he's beginning the one of the forgotten men in the offense. So they get taken down, Dalton Schultz more involved. I think they'll be okay. And I think they need to go to more 13 personnel. O-line issues. Use more max protection. Use more tight ends. Give Stroud more time. And with Mixon, I didn't think Mixon would be this dominant. He had bouts in Cincinnati of like flashes of brilliance, but for the most part, he played a battle line in Cincinnati, and his yards per carry was not that great during his tenure in Cincinnati. So what he's doing in Houston, I think is not short of incredible.
My biggest takeaway from that game was Madden has ruined so many young OCs. With that game should have showed both Bobby Slowick and forgive me for not knowing. Well, Matt LaFleur.
Yeah.
What it should have showed them was that, hey, I said it to Frank in the first quarter. I'm like, hey, like we were leaving the hotel to head to the game, and it was like, and CJ he kept getting pressure. You know, he was running for his life. He's throwing his helmet on the ground.
Yeah.
You know, looking pissed off in a way that I haven't seen him look. You know, in his short time in the league. And I'm telling Frank, like, hey, bro, today just might not be a CJ Stroud game.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes you got to kind of feel the rhythm of the game. Like I talk about this a lot in basketball. Like basketball has a flow, you know, and you as a player, when you're on the field, you recognize, oh, this is just not my game. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like they're trapping me at half court. You know what I'm saying? Every time I get it, like this might not be my game, or I might need to find these spots to be, you know, ultra aggressive or whatever. So that wasn't a CJ Stroud game. And it really honestly wasn't a Jordan Love game. And both offenses found their most success when they ran the ball, you know, at a higher clip than they were passing the ball at the time. But it's like, okay, we got these young stud quarterbacks, you know, first down. We just got 2 straight first downs off the run. You know, they may not be expecting this pass. Like I guarantee you that, you know, like, they think you're going to pass eventually. Like play to your advantage. Play that was working, and you know, both of them struggled against the blitz. They, you know, struggled against just pressure, as young quarterbacks tend to do. And like the OC, the play caller should have recognized that and kind of kept that up. And I think it kind of bit the Texans in the ass because, you know, they had a chance to like really control more clock and take that lead and win that game. And they got a little bit too pass happy in the wrong moments. Yeah, Tank Dell dropped the pick, but I mean, he dropped a touchdown. But outside of that, like, that was not a CJ Stroud game, obviously. And that showed in both the stats and just what you should have seen if you were watching that game.
Yeah. Yeah, he had a tough one, but, you know, he's still got a lot of, you know, a lot of room in front of him, a lot of upside, obviously, with that player. Now, let's talk about the former Texans quarterback. He had a very rough day. Deshaun Watson, Cleveland Browns. It finally happened. He's done playing for this year, not because of the play on the field, but because he suffered a season-ending ruptured Achilles, and so he's out for the rest of the season.
I thought that's why you were saying it finally happened. Like he finally.
No. I mean, I don't root for anybody to get hurt, but I think that's honestly, this is what it took for him to get off the field because they were just going to keep running him out there no matter how poorly he played. And I guess, Frank, I'll go to you first. I'm not saying like, you know, we don't know what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson as far as like, will he play again? But do you think he'll ever play in the NFL again?
No.
Given how he's played, his contract situation, how hated he is. Yeah.
Nope, I don't. He is a PR nightmare, and I don't see a team touching him with a 10-foot pole. Yeah. He's going to make $230 million. He's going to be his kids will eat. His legacy, his family legacy is secured, and that is a great retirement plan because nobody's touching him ever again. That is a wrap. And who knows? By the time he is healthy in 2026 or whenever, more lawsuits may come out, and he may be in deeper shit than he is now with the 20 some odd women that have claims on him for sexual assault and sexual misconduct. So, no, he's done. He's done. If it was good, a team would take a chance on him, I think, because the NFL is not a morality league. No. It's as long as you're good, we'll put up with your talent. As long as you're good, but like he's not good anymore. So it's like, why even risk like bringing that headache in with all the baggage that he comes with off the field? I want to address this though about the booing and when he got hurt. As a football watcher, I didn't have a problem with it because this is not the same thing of like Michael Irvin getting his neck damn near broke and the Eagles fans booing, cheering him, or any type of like strict football play that happened on the field. This guy's on the hook for 20 some odd cases of sexual misconduct, allegedly. So you have to understand there are a lot of pissed off people and women in general of what happened with or what didn't happen with a lot of these civil suits. And for Jameis Winston and for Myles Garrett to come out and say that, oh, he, how dare you, question his integrity and like boo him, like, bro, like his integrity. This say integrity. I don't know if they say integrity, but they said something. They said something that was like pretty much saying that he's a good person and like the morale of this person. And for them to say that, you're pretty much spitting in the faces of all the victims and the victims' families that were involved in all these cases. And if you want to say don't boo the man and just keep it like that, keep it like that. But to go deeper into Deshaun Watson's personality and what he deserves or don't deserve, I thought was very inhumane for those guys to say. And with football players, man, it's such a barbaric warfare mentality for them. Everything is just about football, and they tend to like not understand like the responsibility that comes with your words when you talk about somebody that has issues off the field. And what those two guys said, I thought was absolutely heinous and irresponsible to say the least. Now, if I was a Browns fan, would I have booed? Probably not. But I understand it. It's more than his play on the field. It's what everything that encompasses Deshaun Watson, what he's done or allegedly done over the last 4 or 5 years of him playing football and what he's off the field. So that's all I want to say about that.
Tristan, your thoughts on the Deshaun situation?
I think Frank and I had this conversation over and over again. So I won't rehash what he said, but I'll kind of pivot a little bit. I think what's at the heart of the matter is the fundamental belief among a lot of people that you can't cheer on bad things that happen to assholes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I simply don't subscribe to that. Like, full disclosure, I'm not religious. You know what I'm saying? So I have this kind of faint belief in karma. I think bad things happen to good people, good things happen to good people, good things happen to bad people. Yeah. And that's just kind of like how life is. So I don't think, even if you walked into the stadium that day and said, hey, I hope Deshaun Watson gets hurt, that doesn't increase the likelihood that it happens, nor does it think that, something bad just might happen to you because it's Wednesday. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't have to be a special event.
Yeah.
So now I agree with Frank. Do I personally cheer on, bad things that happen to people I deem as bad people? Not necessarily, but like I'm not thinking about them until, they're in my face. Like, the only horrible person that just lives kind of rent free in my brain is like Donald Trump. Like, because you can't go anywhere without like his buffoonery. But like, for the most part, I don't think about people that I don't like. So would I boo? No. Would I be, cheering on or hoping for something bad to happen? No. But there is something humane about, rooting for whatever you think is like karmic justice against bad people. I don't, and if people, and there's sufficient reason to believe that Deshaun Watson is a bad person, a bad man who's done bad things to innocent people. At any other point in life, we cheer that bad things happen to those people. So I think that's the part that hasn't been talked about enough. Like, hey, sometimes you can root for bad things that happen to who you deem are bad people. And enough people think that Deshaun Watson is a bad person to make that plausible. So would I boo? No, but I also get it at the same time. Now, real quickly, if you're there booing simply because he did not play well for your favorite team, then you, sir, or ma'am, or a coward. You know what I'm saying? And that doesn't apply to you. Like, you don't get the same level of empathy. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, no. Very fair point. No great transition from Deshaun to Jaden Daniels, but I want to talk about Jaden Daniels because he
holy segue, man.
Golly.
I know. I want to hit this real quick. So Jaden Daniels, he avoided a major injury. Thankfully, he's just got a rib injury. Apparently, he's week to week. But I want to not only talk about Jaden Daniels, but like Marcus Mariota came in the game and played like Marcus Mariota from Oregon, lit up the Panthers. Now, granted, it was the Panthers, but the Commanders won 40-7, and Jaden Daniels got hurt in the first quarter. Frank, did you see much of this game besides the highlights? And like the way Mariota's playing, like maybe they'll be okay if Jaden Daniels is out for a week or two.
I did not see the game, unfortunately. I have Jaden Daniels on my fantasy team. I lost because he got hurt. But it's the Panthers, man. It's a Division III team that the Commanders played. I don't put much stock in that win. It's a win. I mean, hey, chalk it up for an NFC conference win, but Mariota's not a bad quarterback. I'm not gonna put stock in that Mariota performance and say, damn, they will be all right. I mean, he's a capable backup, but I'm not gonna take anything more than they play the fucking Panthers, who probably will have 2 wins this year. Yeah. And 2 wins, I'm saying graciously. I'm giving them credit for 2 wins.
They already have 1. So
yeah, one more could be a stretch.
Yeah,
that is not a good team. But no, man. I mean, Jaden Daniels got very, very lucky. It could have been a lot worse. If I'm the Commanders, I tread carefully. If he's grimacing while throwing a football even a little bit, I'm not putting him out there. I would play Mariota. He's a 10-year veteran. He's capable enough of running off for a couple weeks till his ribs heal. But yeah, that's pretty much. I didn't watch that game, so I don't have much more to say about that. If I'm the Panthers, I'm gearing up for a fire sale come November 3rd. I'm trading every asset that is deemed good or tradable and just retooling. Come April, that team is terrible. Adam Thielen, you're on the block. Mingo, you're on the block. Any running back that's even Chuba Hubbard, anybody who's deemed good is on the block. That team needs as much draft capital and hopes and prayers as possible.
Yeah. Tristan, thoughts on Mariota? Because I thought like he played. That's one of the best games I've seen him play in the NFL. I can't say I can remember a whole lot of his career at Tennessee and other stops, but he looked really good in that game.
No, I mean he looked like the best version of what he looked like in Atlanta over like. Of course, some games like he couldn't do it consistently, but he also this unfortunately is a guy who has not, since he's come into the league, has not really played under the most competent, systems and offenses and coordinators, and like he just hasn't had that. So like sitting his ass down in a couple stops, and it seems to have done some good. Again, caveat being it's the Panthers. But there is something to having experience and playing well for various points in your career and having a chance to like kind of sit back and see it being done, really well, and then just kind of going off that muscle memory of what you practice. So shout out to him. He had a good game. I didn't see a lot of it, on a multi-view, but he played well. Shout out. Do it again.
I think definitely like I said, it was his best game we've seen him play. I think they probably should stick with him just for a little bit. We're gonna stop our NFL talk just for a second because I want to get Frank's thoughts on Georgia Texas. That was gonna be our main college game. I know Frank might have to get out here a little bit earlier, so let's talk about Georgia Texas and we'll jump back to the NFL with whatever time we have left. Georgia came into Austin and absolutely shut down Texas in the first half. Their defense overwhelmed the Texas offense, particularly Quinn Ewers, who I haven't really been a fan of the guy. I'm not really sure I see him as an NFL quarterback. It's certainly a starting NFL quarterback. We can get into that. Frank, what did you think about Georgia pulling off the 30-15 win over Texas?
Texas O-line got punked. They got manhandled. They got bitch slapped. They got sat down prison style in that first half. I feel like the dominance of that O-line, the disappointment of that dominance permeated throughout the rest of the offense. They just couldn't seem to get a rhythm going. They got hit in the mouth, and Ewers was obviously affected by that. and he could never get right. I've always had questions about Ewers as far as like his ability to make plays on a play-to-play basis. I don't think his arm is that strong. I think his accuracy comes and goes. I just don't know if he has an elite arm enough to like play at a high level, especially the next level. That what that game showed me is that you can't fuck around, man, with Ewers. You got to give Arch Manning a chance. And it's not even just this game that I had questions about. Even the Washington game last year in the CFP, it took Ewers about 3 quarters to get going. And I don't know if you can afford to waste a half, a quarter, 3 quarters for him to get going in a game that you might need. SEC championship, a playoff game.
Yep.
And I think Arch just gives you the better chance. He's physically more developed, stronger arm. He's mobile. He has attributes that Ewers just doesn't have. People forget Ewers lost his job to C.J. Stroud at Ohio State, and he left. And C.J. Stroud was a clear better quarterback physically, mentally, arm talent wise. Yeah. And I think you have the same dilemma here. I think Arch is the better quarterback. I didn't think it was fair to Arch to put him in that game down 21-0 or 17-0. I thought that was kind of fucked up by Sarkisian, only to go back to Ewers in the second half. I feel like to give that kid a chance, you either start him out the gate or you wait till next week and just kind of roll from there. But what that game showed me was that Ewers is not ready against top tier competition to go blow for blow with another top tier team. Defensively, I thought they played great. Like it was 30-15, but you gotta remember, Texas had 3 turnovers and 2 of them was on their side of the field. So
a lot of short fields for Georgia.
Yeah, a lot of short fields, and for them to only give up 17 in the first half after giving up 3 short fields, I thought was great. Defensively, Texas matches up. They're great defensively. They hit you in the mouth. They can hold their own. But the offensive line play, man, was so disappointing. I mean, that offensive line has 3 first-round picks, veteran O-line, been together about 3 years now. I was very, very surprised by the poor showing that they displayed in that first half. They played better in the second half. Ewers had time in the second half. They got it together, but at that time, I think Ewers was already shook.
Yeah, man. Same. I haven't seen NFL quarterback in Quinn Ewers like since day one. So that's always kind of the reason why I've been hesitant to like fully jump back on that Texas bandwagon is because of Quinn Ewers. I'm just like, I think he's a good quarterback. I don't think that when things break down, it's kind of like we talked about with Brock Purdy. He's nowhere near what Brock Purdy was at Iowa State. But when a lot of things break down, like there's a ceiling on what he can do. And then he just, like frankly, he looks shook. He's afraid to move. It's not like he's somebody who uses his legs a lot as is. But he was just kind of sitting there, just kind of staring down receivers, just waiting for something to happen, waiting for something to break open. It wasn't that game. Like it's time for you to, trust your arm, trust, your ability to read the defense. And he didn't have it.
Just bad reads. He had open receivers. He wasn't making the right decision.
He knew they were open, but he was waiting for them to be like Big 12 open, and there's a difference between Big 12 and SEC open. So I talked about it with Frank. Like the thing I was looking for in this game was like how we talked about it, the night before. How was Texas going to match up with Georgia's speed and physicality, right? Like that would show me if they were ready for like the SEC on a week-to-week basis. And yeah, man, the O-line was like the sore thumb, it stuck out like that. So they got to get that together, man, like because they have a good chance of meeting up with Georgia again. Yeah. And that can't be the showing, you know what I'm saying? Like, in order for them to like really be confident about their place in the SEC going forward, like they have to show up. Even if you lose, like you got to show up better than that. You just can't have dudes like just running through you and pushing you back 3 yards and Come on, not especially when you know your quarterback is not, what's my boy from Alabama? I forgot his name. Damn.
Jalen Milroe.
Jalen Milroe.
Yeah.
Like he's no Milroe. He's not just, he's not getting out of there like that. So
yeah,
very poor showing by the O-line.
And I'm just so surprised by the O-line because that same O-line, the same 5 starters went to Alabama last year and dominated Alabama's D-line. You go back and watch that 4th quarter. They did with it that from the 4-minute mark in the 3rd quarter on, they were pushing Dallas Turner and those guys. First round pick Dallas Turner, those guys off the ball in that 3rd and 4th quarter, and they did whatever they do. They closed the game out on a 5-minute drive. Bama didn't get the ball back. they ended the game on a 5-minute drive and just dominated Bama's online in Tuscaloosa. So when seeing that, and they're a year together, even longer, 3 years now at home in Texas for the world to see, it didn't make sense. It just didn't make sense how they shit the bed. But the great thing is you have this on film, you can learn from this. And moving forward, man, you can be better for this. I think Texas kind of smothered themselves a little bit in this game, and Texas was the favorite. There were 3. They opened in Vegas as a 3.5 favorite. So all week long, Georgia just kept hearing whispers that Texas is the better team. Texas is going to show out, and I think Georgia took it personally.
Yeah, definitely. The one good thing about Texas also is 12-team playoff, so they don't have to worry about. They should be in the playoff as long as they don't lose like 2 more or something. I think they could probably lose maybe 1 more and still make the playoff. But
this needs to be the Arch man. This needs to be Arch's team. Yeah. Like I think he has a lower floor right now, but the ceiling is much higher.
Yeah. Yeah, and against that Georgia defense, like his ability to run would have helped them in the first half a little bit. I mean, obviously he did come in. He got I think 2 series, but they definitely needed him earlier. And frankly, if you go back to the first quarter of the Oklahoma game the week before, yours looked pretty shaky in that game too. I mean, Oklahoma's just really not good, and that's why Texas eventually just wore them down and just kicked their ass. But it wasn't like they were overwhelmed by the offense or by the quarterbacks, certainly. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with the Ewers Manning situation. It's pretty interesting. How Texas always has some kind of quarterback controversy that plays out, but this time I think it's time to go to the young guy and let him play.
And the reason why just to add a little bit to the Arch Manning thing, the reason why I had a problem of them bringing him in at 17-0 is that if he plays anymore, you're gonna burn this year for him. So if you don't play him, you need to commit to him. You can't fuck around anymore, like pulling him in games and pulling like I think after one more game he burns his red shirt or he burns this season.
Well, I mean he's a redshirt freshman this year,
but isn't like 4 games and then after 4 games it's counted as a full season.
I'm not actually sure because he did play he played in a couple games last year also.
Yeah, and 2 games this year so far, and then a little bit last week. But if you're going to commit to, if you're going to play him, make him the starter, barring injury or just completely poor play. I think going back and forth, I don't like this 2 quarterback thing. Like commit to one guy and stick with that guy because for the sake of the offense, you need continuity. You can't keep. I thought it was just poor. It was just poor planning to put him in to take him out and put Ewers back in for the 3rd quarter.
I think it was desperation, honestly.
Yeah. And I didn't expect Sarkisian to do that. I expect a coach from Florida to do that, or a coach with less experience. I think Sarkisian knows better than that, man.
Yeah. Any other college football thoughts before we jump back to the NFL? Tristan, do you have anything else from the college football weekend you want to mention?
Colorado quietly, looks decent. Looks like a good team. Could be a playoff team. Who knows? Not a playoff team, but like this, sneaky playoff team.
Yeah.
Haven't beaten anybody like great, but I mean, just record alone, they could make a case. So
yeah.
Bama got 1 more loss before they have this playoff run. They got Tennessee in a couple weeks. I mean, not Tennessee. They got Ole Miss. I think they got Ole Miss next. in the next couple of weeks. They can't lose anymore.
Yeah.
You can't have 3 losses in the SEC.
Yeah.
You can't.
They lost to Tennessee on Saturday. So,
yeah. And I think they play Ole Miss coming up as well. So you can't lose anymore. You have to win out. For the sake of your playoff hopes, you cannot lose anymore. You're Bama. And I don't know that they will not lose again. That defense they're getting dominated in their rush defense. And Miro has not played well down the stretch. He's committed a lot of turnovers, especially in the red zone. He's inaccurate. And I think the pressure of like having to put up points in bunches because that defense is not as good as it used to be is putting pressure on Miro to perform at a high level. And I think DeBoer has a lot of work to do defensively. And I don't think it can be fixed this season. I think they might go into the transfer portal come February to retool that defense, but they're giving up ass. The Vanderbilt game, the South Carolina game, this game, they're giving up too many yards in bunches.
They're fortunate to hold on against Georgia 2 weeks ago also. So, yeah, maybe tough times for the Tide. We'll see. We'll see what happens. So let's go back to the NFL. Let's finish up our week 7 NFL stuff. Tristan, last week we were talking, it was right after Devontae Adams was traded to the Jets. And we actually didn't mention this, but another wide receiver was traded that same day. Amari Cooper was sent to the Buffalo Bills, and he actually scored a touchdown in his debut as the Bills rolled in their win on Sunday. What do you think about Cooper with the Bills?
I think he will add. I kind of view it in the same way I view Devontae Adams, in that it's definitely going to be an improvement, but not enough improvement to ultimately you make this huge difference. The Bills' offense is better, just having another guy on the outside. I don't know how good Amari Cooper is on a week-to-week basis. I guess is my biggest hang-up. But he looked good on Sunday. Caught a pick. Not a pick. I keep saying pick. He caught a touchdown. Even when he didn't even know the audible, or he wasn't too sure about the audible. My boy Keon Coleman had to help him out. But hey, man, giving Josh Allen another weapon, another place to go with the football that he can count on, I think it's gonna make a difference. I guess I'm just not ready to vault him into Super Bowl territory. Defense still needs some work, and they haven't really beat much of anybody to really be impressed. But he looked good. Bills look better. And we'll see, how far that goes.
Yeah, speaking of Josh Allen, he had a pretty big day, 323 yards. Josh Allen does not have an interception this season yet.
It's wild.
12 touchdowns, 0 picks. That's he's been known for having a lot of picks in the past. So we'll see how long that trend continues, or how long that streak goes. But he's definitely playing pretty well, and I think adding Cooper, gives him another guy who can do something with the ball out there. So, so I mentioned Devontae Adams. Let's talk about his debut. He was reunited with Aaron Rodgers. He had 3 catches for 30 yards as the Jets fell to the Steelers 37-15 on Sunday Night Football, which also saw Russell Wilson make his debut for the Steelers. What'd you think about that game? What'd you think about Russ? What'd you think about Rodgers?
Man, tell the 2 quarterbacks. Russ, shaky first half. I thought he kind of picked up steam in the second quarter, but he looked awesome in the second half. He just made the right reads. He just made throws that Justin Fields can't make consistently, or at least he can't make within the rhythm of the offense. Russell Wilson can 2-step, boom, boom, get it out. Perfect back shoulder pass, fade pass in the end zone, or go route on the sidelines. Those are Russell Wilson's specialties, especially when he has time to throw the ball and playmakers on the outside who can make those contested throws. So he looked really good. I mean, that validated, at least so far, Mike Tomlin's decision to go away from Justin Fields on with a 4-2 record, but. Like I said, that's why he's well compensated, right? So that's a move you make when you can be forward thinking. and say, okay, yeah, we're 4-2, but like, okay, we still haven't played this team. We haven't played this team. This team could take this away. Like you're thinking like a defensive coach, self-scouting. How would I stop us? And if I have an option that I feel like can be better in the ways that we need to be better in as an offense, as opposed to things that are like luxuries. Like Justin Fields, his running ability is a luxury. Like it's not necessarily what they need. Then you see this. His performance in that second half showed you why he made that decision. It also kind of shows you like his, thinking, his ideology as a coach. As far as Aaron Rodgers, he is the coach, so like everything goes off his ideology, and he's just not good. Like I think he has the arm talent. He's gonna die with his arm talent. That still confuses you in thinking that he's an overall good quarterback.
Right.
But he's not. He's like the poor. I was watching it. We were at a restaurant watching this with a very nice lady, Ravens fan. Shout out to her. But I was just watching and like his mechanics looked bad. And you realize he always had these mechanics, but he was so good. His arm was at a 99 level that like the mechanics eventually looked like the right mechanics. And now that he's old and he can't really move the same way, he can't contort his body the same way, like those mechanics are like more exposed. You know what I'm saying? So that takes away from like how good he is. He's making poor decisions. He can't get out the pocket. Like if I told you all these things, but I took the name Aaron Rodgers off, you would say this is a bad to at best mediocre quarterback. Now, when things go right, when he can get 2 seconds or less, he can be a really good quarterback. But like on a play-to-play basis, he's not a good quarterback, and that offense needs him to be great, not good. So those are my biggest takeaways, man. Like I don't think the Jets do anything well on offense. They run decently, but not good enough to like be a good rushing team. They're a bad team. Like they are what their record is.
Yeah, they're 2-5. Not looking good for a shot at winning that division. I mean, they're only ahead of the Patriots, which is one of the worst teams in the NFL, and the Jets are right there with them. So, but because they're the Jets, because they're New York, we're gonna get to see plenty more of them. So I guess we'll just have to settle in and watch the destruction of Aaron Rodgers' career before our eyes.
Start listening to you guys.
Yeah. You always love it when they go at the media guys. I mean, sometimes it's probably warranted, but
turns into Sylvester Stallone at the press conference after that.
I guess the real media though is McAfee, right? That's his guy. So what he says on that is his actual official thoughts on the team. And apparently today he said that the reason why the team's losing is because they're not playing with joy. It's like, well, you're not playing with joy because you're losing.
Because it's
like
chicken or the egg.
Yeah. So I think they're not going to be playing with joy for much more of the season, but you never know. Maybe they'll turn it around. We'll see. I doubt it too. Let's go to the Monday games. We had the first ever ESPN Plus exclusive game, which was the Cardinals and Chargers. Full disclosure, I do not have ESPN Plus. I have almost every other streaming service in the world. I've never had ESPN Plus. I don't think I ever will. So I didn't watch this game, but I did. I don't think I really needed to, although it was a close one. The Cardinals pulled it out 17-15 with a last second field goal to win. The Cardinals are 3-4, while the Chargers fell to 3-3. Herbert had a good game. Did you catch this game? Any takeaways from this one?
I do have ESPN Plus.
Yeah.
Once I realized that it was on ESPN Plus while I was watching, I think Ravens Bucks went to halftime, so I was like, okay, let me go and see. Let me switch over. And once it didn't show up on my YouTube TV, so I'm like, okay,
right.
Like what else would it be on? And I saw it was on ESPN Plus. I kind of actively refused to turn to it, like just out of like silent protest. Like, how dare you? Like this doesn't seem like not everybody has ESPN Plus. You are literally, downgrading or minimizing your potential audience. Like that doesn't make sense. So eventually, once we got home, once I got home from the airport, I eventually logged in. I didn't have to log in. If I would have had to log in, I would have not have caught any part of that game. But I watched the last, I would say, 17 minutes of that game. Right when Kyler Murray got that, scamper because he doesn't run, he scampers, little guy. The Chargers offense, like at first I thought it was just like Harbaugh, coming in and trying to slow it down and get more into a running game. Like they actually just don't have enough offensive talent
they don't have
to score consistently. So they kind of have to. And Justin Herbert he's completely, I give him credit because he has willingly kind of sacrificed part of like the high parts of his game in order to like give them a better chance to like be more consistent offensively and less of a roller coaster. And so he's playing well, but like the team's not good enough to take advantage of him playing well. As far as the Cardinals, like this is kind of par for the course. Like they win games, I guess you don't really expect them to. They lose, most games that you would expect them to, and ones you don't. I never know what to make of them. It's like, Kyler Murray made one of the best plays I've ever seen in my life. Kyler Murray has 170 yards. Okay. Like the two concepts aren't matching up. So like there's a cognitive dissonance with him. Like I see you may do spectacular things, but you can't do spectacular things over the course of a game consistently. So that's out of the 15 or so minutes that I watched, that's what I got from it. But I at a point actively was just like, I refuse to turn to this game just out of protest, out of spite.
Well, you gotta, ESPN understood like they're not gonna put the Ravens game on there. I mean, last year this actually happened with the Chiefs and the Dolphins in the playoffs, where it was the Peacock exclusive playoff game, which worked out well financially for Peacock. I know it pissed a lot of people off, but it did kind of force people to maybe sign up for that service who didn't have it before that. I'm just not sure, like with ESPN Plus, like what do you get out of that? Especially because like I think ESPN's gonna have a whole nother. They're creating a whole different app next year that's coming out. I've heard about this. I'm not really sure what you get out of that, honestly.
I asked myself the same question. I used to like it for the Zach Lowe articles, NBA articles.
Right.
I mean, you do like the reason I got it in the first place was because of like the exclusive content with Zach Lowe, some of the Bill Barnwell. But you also get like this wide berth of like college games and stuff that aren't on the regular networks. That was my original justification. I don't think I need it as much anymore. And Zach Lowe's gone. So like fuck ESPN Plus. But overall, it's a horribly run site. It's one of the worst, like as far as access and user ability. Like it's one of the worst sites known to man. So I probably won't have it for much longer. So please don't put any Chiefs games on ESPN Plus.
I mean, they do have. I mean, obviously, if you're a UFC fan, which I'm not a UFC guy, but they have a ton of UFC on there. That's one of their big selling points. They also have La Liga, which is the league that has Real Madrid and Barcelona, two of the most, the biggest two soccer teams in the world, honestly, up there with Manchester City and United. So, I mean, if you're interested in those teams, I get that, but just as far as like them putting an NFL game on there, I just don't think that's a good move unless it's one of those things where it's like, like if you're going to do that, you're trying to attract people to subscribe, you almost have to like dangle like that Cowboys carrot or something. But then again, if you have a Cowboys game is too valuable to like sacrifice your, what you would get on TV as far as ratings and eyeballs that you get on ESPN or especially on ABC. So it's kind of a weird catch-22 where you kind of have to do what they did, which I think was a better decision than what Peacock did. But Peacock's decision paid off, and you also had the playoffs, and you had Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. So like you had more of a drawing card, to try to get people to subscribe. But I don't know. I don't know what's the best way to do this kind of stuff, honestly.
I do get it. like it does make sense to use the NFL as a carrot to get more subscribers, but like outside of my feelings about streaming in general, I do think, and I'll try to say this without going into like, a rant about it. I do think that football for so long has been such a, I guess, and this goes into like my rant about like the conferences, in college football and college basketball. But like, we have our Sunday games, we have Monday. We have these things. These things are cornerstones of American society. And we only need, it dilutes the meaning of what the Monday Night Football is. If one, we have two games, and then two, we have one game that isn't like accessible to the entire nation. Like those two things contradict with each other. I honestly, like, I just want one game on Monday Night Football.
Yeah,
I just want one. Choose. First of all, we should have had Texans Packers or something either on Sunday night or Monday night, but just give me one game, man. Like, and make it semi good, like, and with some stakes, and let's go from there. Like, I hate this too, Monday Night Football. I don't feel fulfilled. I don't feel like I'm gaining anything.
Well, and also, it's not like you have a double header. You have games that start like 45 minutes apart or something, which is also kind of a weird. I mean, it's the same network, so they're not. I mean, they're kind of competing with themselves in a way, but I mean, people obviously now you can do picture in picture, and there's all kinds of ways you can watch. People can watch on their phone or their iPad or whatever. But you're right; it's diluting the specialness that was Monday Night Football, and I mean, obviously that's been diluted for years because Sunday Night Football is actually the special game every week. But I agree with you. We need one game a week, and make it where the biggest audience possible can watch it, because I mean, the NFL is one of the reasons why cable TV still exists. I mean, why broadcast TV still exists, because of the NFL schedule. So, um, the more they take that stuff away, I don't think it's going to help the broadcasters. I don't think it helps. I don't think that helped ESPN last night to do that with that football game. But
and it was a poor game. Just on top of that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let's talk about the other game last night. It was the Ravens 41 over the Buccaneers 31. The Ravens have won 5 straight. Derrick Henry, another huge game, 169 yards on the ground and a touchdown. He had a receiving touchdown. The Ravens look like it looks like the Ravens, Chiefs, and Texans are kind of like separating from the rest of the AFC. Maybe the Bills are in that group, but the Ravens look really good. Unfortunately, on the Bucs side, they had some big losses on the field. They had Mike Evans got hurt. I think it's a hamstring. Maybe he'll be out for a week or two. But more importantly, or more devastatingly, was Chris Godwin, broken ankle or dislocated ankle. He's done for the season. What are your thoughts on this game from both the Ravens and the Bucs perspectives?
It was a bummer. Like, I really expected the Bucs to show up more early on. I had been as early as like that yesterday morning. Tyler Baker Mayfield is like a top 5 MVP candidate, and he kind of reverted back to like some of his old habits, staring receivers down, not being able to see guys in the secondary. And he, like, the first pick, he just threw straight to him in the back of the end zone. The second one was worse than that. Like, essentially 2 dudes were like, look, sharks going for water, because like it was such an easy pick.
Yeah,
they ran into each other. But yeah, he didn't look good. He didn't look, and that was before Mike Evans, went out with the hamstring. That was before Chris Godwin's ankle injury, which I didn't see live. I saw, like, somebody posted a screenshot of it on Twitter. I'm just scrolling through, and like, I didn't need to see that.
Yeah,
didn't want to see that. That was unfortunate. So on the Bucs side, like, again, understand what happened later in the game with their receiving core, and that's gonna affect probably that division going forward, the hierarchy of it. On the flip side, man, Lamar is playing what looks like his best football, and we said the same thing last year. So he's playing great. He's really, really great, throwing the ball at a high level, not even using his legs too much, highly efficient. but also highly explosive offense. So the Ravens' offense looks great, and it's picking up steam as the year's going. That defense, we just have to accept is not going to be good, especially in the secondary. Like I can't think of maybe two games, one game, maybe two, that they've like really showed up big and like at least competed with the offense as far as units go. So Ravens offense looks amazing, but like that defense, it looks like it could be something that comes to bite them in the ass later on in the year.
Yeah. But do you agree? Like it seems like it's going to come down to them and the Chiefs. The Ravens and Chiefs are going to be the final. I mean, maybe the Texans get in there, but like I feel like where the NFC is kind of, you have the North is very strong, but the rest of the NFC is kind of, you don't really know. The AFC, there's a couple of teams that are clearly the better teams, and I'll be very surprised if those aren't the final teams remaining in the AFC playoffs.
Same.
Yeah. Any other things you want to mention from week 7? I was gonna mention Saquon Barkley had a big revenge game against the Giants, 176 yards on the ground and a touchdown. 28-3, the Eagles beat the Giants.
Good Jalen Hurts game.
Yeah, he played well.
Good Jalen Hurts game.
Yeah. The Jaguars escaped London with a win. So
good Trevor Lawrence game. Like it is the Patriots.
Right.
New caveat. But again, Trevor Lawrence needs to see some shots go in. You know, like he just needs to stack good games, and then we can worry about great later. But let's just be good on a consistent basis.
The Jaguars, I should note, are 2-5 overall, but they're 1-1 in London, so 500. You know, like so, maybe they can play another game over there. Did you see any of the Rams Raiders game? No, I'm sure you didn't, because that was at the same time as the Chiefs Niners game. That was not a pretty game. Although I do want to mention something I saw a little bit ago that I wasn't aware of. The Rams apparently have put Cooper Kupp on the trade block. Now he's often injured. Would you like to see Cooper Kupp with your Chiefs?
I would, for like a conditional 5th round pick. Is Cooper Kupp going to be healthy? I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
If the answer is yes, then the answer is yes. If not, then man, 5th or 6th round pick. But I'm not giving up a 2nd or a 3rd, for a 31, 32-year-old who's, been awfully injured the last 3 years. With that said, if he's healthy, hey man, he could do some damage in that mini Rashee Rice role. So we'll see.
I gotta say, I'm kind of surprised the Rams are openly like looking to trade him. I'm surprised they're trying to trade him. I mean, I get obviously he's been injured a lot, but I thought he was like one of their like cornerstone guys. And obviously he is, like you said, he's 32 years old, but still, I thought he had a little bit left. And if he ever gets healthy, I'm just surprised they're looking to trade him.
Yeah, I also think the Rams are kind of due for a rebuild on a slight level. I saw a rumor, I don't know how much I'm going to believe it, that they were shopping, at least listening to offers for like Matt Stafford, or at least they had been approached to it. Again, take that with a grain of salt. If there's smoke, then eventually we'll see it. But they've overdue. Like the bill, I don't think is all the way come due on the moves they made before that Super Bowl. Like you got to pay for it at some point, as the New Orleans Saints are finding out.
Exactly. We can talk about that quickly. The Sean Payton Bowl was on Thursday Night Football, and Sean Payton's new team beat his old team. It was not a good game at all. The Amazon games returned to their normal state as being unwatchable. The Broncos rolled over the Saints. It was a tough watch.
For the 10 minutes I gave it, after that, you know what? It wasn't even 10 minutes. I actively said I refuse. Like this is one of those games that, like, hey, it's Thursday night. I'm gonna watch a movie with my wife. You know what I'm saying? Like some quality time. Like I just refuse to watch that game. Like that's a sickness.
Yeah. I had it on. It's a Kindle game. I had it on my Kindle, no sound. I would just look over there and be like, "Oh, Bo Nix is running with the ball. Oh, wow, it's 33-3." Then, Spencer Rattler did not look very good. No one does on the Saints right now. They're very injured, very, very tough to watch team, and they are now 2-5. They lost 5 in a row. So the reverse of what the Ravens have done. Tristan, any other thoughts on the NFL before we get out of here?
Oh man, great week.
Yeah. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you. I know you're a huge basketball fan, huge NBA fan. The NBA is starting back right now tonight. I want to get your quick predictions on the season. Who do you like? Who do you think might win the MVP? Like finals prediction. I know I'm maybe catching you off guard, but I know you're a big basketball guy, so I want to get your thoughts on that.
Man, I don't do work at work. This is all I do, man. This is all I think about. All right, so just quickly, I like the Celtics out of the East. Obviously, they just manhandled the New York Knicks on ring night. I like, out of the West, the popular pick is OKC. I don't really have an argument against it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say OKC until I see otherwise. Ask me in about 2 months. And my dark horse pick for MVP is Jason Tatum. Okay. I think the Celtics record is going to be great. I think that he's highly motivated. And I think he's low key made a lot of the improvements that I wanted to see him make to go from star to superstar. I think he's definitely a star. He's just not consistently a superstar, you know what I'm saying? But seeing him tonight, 37, 8, and 10, you know what I'm saying? He's not going to get that every night, but if he's consistently around the 6 assists plus, he's rebounding at 8+, then hey, that's super, and he's scoring at an efficient level, then he looks like one of the absolute best players in the league. So dark horse, and I'm not even the biggest Jason Tatum fan because I haven't seen those things consistently. So if he is that, then he's my dark horse MVP pick.
You got to think maybe he has a little bit of chip on his shoulder after what happened with the Olympics. He didn't see the floor a ton. When he did play, he didn't play that well.
Yeah, so. I want to be mad for him. That's Jason Tatum. Obviously, you should be able to find some minutes for Jason Tatum. Yeah. He did not look confident without the ball in his hand and without the confines of that Joe Mazzulla offense, that 5-out offense. Yeah. And he couldn't hit the broad side of a barn, man. It's I couldn't even argue. And then he was getting cooked on defense some of those games. Yeah. What the hell are you good for, Jason Tatum, if you're not going to do those things? So I'm interested to see him bounce back this year, but he should also have taken some time with hey, I just wasn't good enough.
Yeah. And final question, I got to ask you about this. You're a big Warriors guy. You're a big Steph Curry fan. What do you see for your Warriors this season?
Oh man, I see one of those long dashes. They could either be a 40. I think the ceiling is 44 wins. Right. I think this is actually one of the better teams that I would argue this is the best team they've had as far as talent since the championship team. And in some ways, not a lot. In some ways, it reminds me of the championship team. And just the way you can kind of see the connection between the role players. Because if you don't have a classic number 2 option, you need a collection of role players who can kind of form like Voltron most nights to look like a number 2 option. That's what happened in 2022. Hell, Andrew Wiggins got to an All-Star game, cosplaying as a number 2 option that he really wasn't. But Jordan Poole could sneak in and have a number 2 night. Andrew Wiggins would have a number 2 night.
Right.
So on and so forth. So and then eventually Clay came back and he would have number 2 nights, not every night like he used to, but some nights. So their ceiling, if everything breaks right, is 50 to 51 games. But again, you need Steph to be healthy. You need Draymond to be healthy and acting right. You need Moody and Kuminga to continue to make jumps in their games like they've been doing, just without the consistent minutes and shot opportunities. You need the defense to be on point. You need to rebound better and not foul as much as you've done the last few years. So if everything breaks right, they're a 50-win team, and they could win a round. Anything more past first round is a bonus for me this year. But my expectation is that they're at least a 7 seed.
Okay.
At the very worst, they should be a 7 seed. At best, they could be a 4 seed.
Yeah. Well, I think either way, the NBA will be happy because they definitely want Steph in the playoffs. They need, I mean, just basketball fans, we need to see that guy play as much as possible. I lied. I have one bonus question because you mentioned Clay. And I want to ask you, and there's no way for you to maybe fully know, but what's it going to be like watching the Mavericks come to play the Warriors? Like, how are you going to feel seeing Clay on the other team? Because Clay Thompson, last couple of years, obviously, injury and age has got a hold of him. But when the Warriors became the Warriors, he had some of the most incredible performances you've ever seen in a basketball game. And the game in Chicago where I think he dribbled the ball like 8 times and had 50 points or whatever it was, like, that's unheard of stuff. So what is that gonna mean to you, or how do you think you'll feel watching Clay come back and face the Warriors?
Bittersweet. I've
Yeah.
been mentally preparing for him. Like, if you just since he came back from injury, like, the writing's been on the wall. Like, it's been kind of every year has been kind of like a slow decline towards him leaving, or them just not signing, or something
Yeah.
happened. They were never going to trade Klay Thompson, but like either they were just going to ride that out with them or let him walk away. So wasn't really surprised. Saw it coming. With that said, like, on two fronts, from as a Warriors fan, it will just be weird seeing him in another jersey because that team was so successful and so integral into, like, not just as Golden State fans, but like basketball fans, like McCartney and John Lennon, who unfortunately broke up, but like, you're just used to seeing like this duo, like they were so not
The
interchangeable.
Splash Brothers, yeah.
They were so interwoven with each other, basketball.
Right.
Like, they just fit each other's, like, one was on the bass guitar, the other was on the, electric guitar, and they just like hitting those notes at the same time. It's some of the best music, if not the, matter of fact, it's definitely the best music I've ever seen play out on the basketball court. As a Clay fan, it's going to be frustrating for him because, as I told Frank, who's a Mavericks fan, he's used to getting the ball and getting his shots in certain ways for so long that it's going to be difficult for him to rewire his brain in the ways that I think they're going to want him to. So I think there's going to be frustration from both sides because there's going to be times when he doesn't touch the ball for like 8-9 straight possessions, and Luka's just dribbling the hell out of it, backing down, getting to a spot, and Clay is just kind of sitting there and he's like, man, I would have ran through 5-6 picks by now. Like, Clay is used to like going for a shot, not getting it, passing it, coming off, boom, get it, not the shot I want, pass, move a little bit more, and then get a shot. Like, that's been part of his basketball ideology for so long that eventually it's going to get frustrating that he doesn't get all that. There'll be games where he shoots it well in transition, yada, yada, but on a night-to-night basis, he's not going to look like the same Clay. Not because he can't shoot it, because different circumstances.
Yeah, watching Luka and Kyrie dribble the ball, probably not going to be a lot of fun for him most games. But you never know. He might, somebody gets hurt, might get bigger role on the team. I mean, last year, who would have thought last year the Mavericks would have made the finals? And they did. So adding Klay Thompson, who knows? Who knows?
We'll see.
We shall find out. So that about does it for our talk about week 7 and some NBA talk too. We wanted to throw that in there. So now that you know what we think about this week in the NFL, we want to know what you think about it. The best way to do that is to join us for the live chat, just like King B. Johnson did, just like Geeking Out with Millie Mel, and just like M Moves. We appreciate them for joining us. We hope that if you're watching us now, obviously you can join us in the live chat. But if you're watching us later on YouTube, be sure to comment below. We'd love to see what you think about what's going on with the NFL, what's going on with the podcast. And if you're on YouTube, do all the YouTube things, like and subscribe. We appreciate it. It really helps us out. We're also on audio platforms, so you can check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Be sure to give us a 5-star rating there. And of course, we're on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. We're at Watchers Basement. And be sure to use the Hashtag Watchers Basement. We will check you out. So that about does it for this week. So for Tristan and for Frank, I'm Justin saying thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time. Have a good night. Bye-bye.